Hey everyone, it's Jeremy here, and I am going to try something here. I decided to go live with this breaking news or whatever that I wanted to play around with. I only have about 20 minutes, but I thought I would share what I'm working on anyway, just like real time in person. So you're seeing this right now live, either in the community or on YouTube. Hello, hello to whomever is watching, and I hope more people join. I'm going to start doing this more often, so get used to it, I guess. But let's dive right in. So we in our in the early office hours today in the early office hours today, we were talking about data tables and talking about the fetching. My my demonstration didn't work there, uh, but the point was we were still talking about this idea of fetching data. So I have it working. I'm going to show you what it is. Here it is. Let me clear out some stuff. Put that right there. I'm trying some all new things, so I gotta be sure to stay back a little bit here. So remind me to do that if I get too up close. All right. So let's see here. What we got? Okay. So this is what it looks like when it's working. And again, I demonstrated this in the post that I did on Sunday. But here's what it looks like. We click, and it loads the web viewer with data tables, and you can see the shell, and then it stops, and then it pushes the data in. That's a better example because there's 9,000 records. So 9,000 records works really nicely to like load the data in. That makes me think I probably wouldn't go to all this trouble if there was only like a portal's worth of records, like 15 records or something. But if there were multiple thousands, then I might go to this idea of at least displaying a loading signal before loading in all the data. But the point was brought up, why do we need to load all the data? We don't really need all 9,000 records. We do if we are trying to do a search. So if I'm trying to search on new, I need to see that there were 2,500 entries, almost 2,600 entries, and I need the entire data set searched. So I have to have the entire data set inside of this, inside of the web viewer. But then our good friend Sam, great community contributor, he brought up this idea of the server-side feature of data tables. And so didn't have a chance to look at it during then, but I was just kind of inspired to try it now. I actually haven't looked at it, so I don't know what it's about, but we're going to see how it looks. So I will go over to the server-side documentation. Let's take a look at that. And this is what it looks like. Let me make one change here. Let's just do this. Do that. I need to resize this quick. I hope this is clear for y'all. Let me know if it's not. There we go. That's much better. By the way, you can put in a comment in YouTube and I will be able to display it. Hopefully it's a nice comment. But yeah, there we go. All right, so the data tables library allows for us to do server-side processing. We have to turn on the option server-side. And according to this documentation, I did read the documentation a little bit to make sure that I could understand what I was doing. When this server-side option is set to true, then the AJAX option that I was actually using to fetch data after the data tables had been loaded will do a few other things. It looks like it's going to send some parameters to the server, in our case FileMaker, that I don't know. We're going to look at it and see what those are. So we'll do that. And then, so it looks like we can serve we can send the draw. I think that's like an integer. It's like a page, maybe. No, maybe this is the paging. Yeah, so this is the paging. This is the length. I'm not sure. Draw counter. This is used by DataTables to ensure that JSON. Okay, so this looks like it's a draw sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have to return that back. So that'll be interesting. But we'll get it. We'll get this working. So draw, start, length, and search. So the value is what I'm going to search on. And I think this is the whole point, because the whole point of this server side is that I could do the search online or in the data tables. Like I could go over here to data tables and I could search for NE, and each type of the keyboard, each letter is a new search. So the first time I do this search, there's nothing. It shows all of the records. Then the first time I type in there N, I want to find any records. That makes me wonder. Any records with an N in it, and then any records with an NE, and then any records with whatever is next. So like NEW. Oh, that's interesting. Why is it not letting me type? Okay, what's happening? There we go. Okay, so hopefully those three types will do a search, and it's going to send those parameters, the P and then the PA and then the PAC, back to FileMaker. FileMaker will be able to use it. So we're asking FileMaker to do these searches in real time, and hopefully using the Execute Data API. So we'll see if that is the case. So yeah, this could be fun. Let's just see how it works. Oh, got 15 minutes. All right, so let's get started. First thing, over in VS Code, we need to turn on server side and make it true. Okay, so the documentation says that when we do that, let's take a look at what happens when we do that. The documentation says that more information is produced, and we'll console log that here. What I noticed was that showing 0 entries filtered from NaN total entries, all of this seems to lose. DataTables doesn't handle this anymore because it's actually expecting the server side processing to tell it how many records it's showing, or showing the page length, like 1 to 10. It's showing the number of entries and filtered from a total found set. So all of these numbers now have to come from the Execute Data API script set result, which that actually works. If we go to the Execute Data API script step, let's run this. Format elements result. So the result is telling me a lot of things. It's telling me, obviously, the data, but it's also at the bottom telling me data info. There was a found count of 206. That's what I want for the bottom part right here. Too many modal windows right here. So this NaN total, I need to pick that up from here. I need to pick up the returned count and the total record count. So the return count should be any in the found set. The return count or total record count should be the total records. So what I have to do is I have to extract that stuff out of here and put it into and stick it into the return to data tables. All right, so let's try this. What am I doing? All right, so we're done with that. All right, so let's go back to the JavaScript and let's see what information is brought back. This async function has 3 arguments. I'm not using the data in the settings at the moment. I'm just using the callback that was built into the the function or what I need to do. But I want to quickly console.log the data. Since it's an object, I'm going to put it into curly braces, and then we're going to see what that looks like. So back over here in FileMaker, get rid of some things. We don't need this right now. Hopefully this will work. Okay, it's just silly me. Just gonna get rid of all that. Set variable, type parameter for now. Okay. Oh my gosh, what is happening here? Unexpected token question mark. Okay, so what is happening? Load customers. Don't need that. I need to remove that. Oh, that's why. Silly me. There we go. Okay, so it fetched the data. Fetched the data. I don't know, something is weird with that, but what it's returning, which is important, is this data. That's what I wanted to look at and see what's going on. So this data variable right here, part of the async function, because we're on server side, it's actually filling out that data variable. If I were to turn this off, then we're relying on data tables to do all the work, count the records, and so forth. And the data object is empty. But we're going to turn it back on. So let's turn it back on. True. By the way, we're going to stop in 7 minutes, but I am going to pick this up again after my other meetings, and then we'll continue on. And I'm just going to play with this and struggle with it throughout this time. So have fun watching this with my big face. Oh, I thought I had locked that. Oh, I didn't lock this one. Sorry, folks. I'm getting used to this. Okay. Oh, goodness. All right. So server side is back on. Where is it? Server side is back on. And the data object that comes in, I'm going to grab a picture of it in the console. So this is telling me a lot of stuff. This is actually telling me what columns I have, what the draw value is. So I guess that's the increment one. It's to make sure that data tables renders them in the order, because as we type, be lots of draws. How many records are supposedly should be returned, the length, the order. So it tells me which column is which order. I'm going to skip that for now, but we'll get into that. The search, that's interesting, the search value, and the page. So the page is the what page are they on? If I were, I don't know, if I were to go to page 2 and do this search, would that give me something different? Yeah, so start 10, because I'm on the second page. So this is telling me the start value. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. The idea, though, is to translate this into what FileMaker needs for the query. I took a picture of it so that we can have it. Go ahead and take a picture of it if you would like as well. I've got it, but I can't display it at the moment. Well, here, boom, there it is. Okay, so I'll keep this up, and we'll play with it as we need, and I'll hide it. So again, columns, the draw, that's again the sequence, the length. Okay, now this search value is interesting because right now there's nothing in it, and I think that's because I just haven't typed anything in the search value. So let's do that. So if I type in n, then what does the data object look like now? Draw 3. Yep, I've got a value of n. So ideally, ideally what I want to do is pass this n back to FileMaker and tell it to search for any of these columns. This is going to be fun. Any of these columns, company name, city, state, and zip, where searchable is true. Wow, this is going to be a lot of work. But so again, what I'm trying to replicate here is I'm trying to build a query for FileMaker to find all of the records where n is where there's an n. Does that make sense? So I'm glad I know the columns. The columns tell me what I need to know, and or at least they tell me the columns that I need to build a query for, minus the field data. Actually, okay. So let's just do this. Let's do this. But I think what I'm going to do is, what should I do? So the whole goal of this is to turn this into something that FileMaker can understand for its query. Since I am the FileMaker developer and I am the JavaScript developer, I think what I'm going to do is build this query that will be used for FileMaker inside of the JavaScript. So I'm going to extract out what I need here to make this work. I'm going to do that. As I look at these, the hardest part for me is the columns, because I have to search for an n in all of these columns where searchable is true. Okay. Luckily, all of them are searchable for true. We'll play with that and test it out and maybe turn one of them off later. But, ooh, okay, let's do this. This is going to be fun. Actually, we're going to stop here. But I will pick up on this at 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're available, come and share. And then I'll stop, do office hours, and then I'll come back to this. Because I'm determined to build my own search mechanism. That I'll just show you what we're trying to do over here in VS Code. Rather than sending it just a blank type, what we want to do is construct a query that will be used in the FileMaker execute data API script step. The data API script step looks like this. It has a layouts property, and it happens to be the type, so that's nice. It has a offset, which Copilot is telling me the data.start. That makes sense. Limit data.length. Okay, sort we're going to get to. Sort we're just going to leave alone for right now. But the query is the one that I'm thinking about the most. It has to be what does it have to be? It has to be a field name. So in this case, it would be company name. Just do company name. And then it would be star and star, or star. It would be this. It would actually be that. I'll just put I'm not sure if I need to put a star after it. So company name is that. That's only one column. So I've got 3 other columns to do, but we'll pick that up afterwards. Anyway, thanks for joining me. This is fun to play with, and you can always see it afterwards, but we'll pick this up again and play around with it. Talk to you in a little while. Bye.